You guys keep seeing these reverse mechanism hidden blades, and I think that they could be a really good self-defense tool, even lethal. It's essentially a push dagger, but I want to show you guys how I would do that. So he's already built the housing for the blade. Now he's carving into the blade with a little razor blade box cutter. What I tend to do is break these box cutter blades off, shape them on a bench grinder into a tanto point, and then glue them down onto a popsicle stick, and that becomes a blade itself. It's just something to keep in mind. So it's one option that you can do. The other option is you can go over this blade with super glue, and he's using super glue for the entire project, and then you can hit it with any kind of seasoning, and then hit that with a file. It's probably better to use like a metal blade. He's even using a metal ruler in this video. It's probably better to use some kind of metal because that popsicle stick is made of pine. When that gets wet with anything, it starts to get soft. It's also a good idea to go over that maybe with some kind of super glue itself, just to keep it waterproof, or maybe even like beeswax, Donnie Dusty style. Our channel studies all kinds of different improvised weapons from bushcraft to urban, and I have a tendency to look at these underrated tools and see potential in them. Counter ambush is the study of having a weapon that's in your hand or on you so that you can defend yourself. There's a similar concept to being able to strike first. You can see that in combatives from OSS gutter fighting, World War II, and even people like Paul Vunek who trained the Navy SEALs to strike first. And the idea of having the tool in your hand gives you a tactical advantage over multiple attackers or even one attacker on the street. You are most vulnerable for an attack before and after a non-permissive environment, because they know you got to go through transit, you got to go through a metal detector. So a lot of times in my channel, I'll introduce the non-permissive environment aspect behind that. If you don't go the metal route, the cloves and super glue method gives you a blade that's non-metal. So right here, immediately, what I would do is begin to coat the blade in super glue to make it waterproof, and then you're going to coat the blade again and go over it with your powder, whatever kind of powder. You can use cinnamon. I enjoy using cinnamon. I like using cloves. You can use turmeric. I've used turmeric. You can use baking soda. You could use. I've seen some people grind up carpenter pencil powder, and that's graphite. So I would love to do graphite powder. I know if you buy it, it's really expensive, but that is a hard material too. I've also suggested this system for 3D printed blades. I know 3D printed blades get kind of flimsy. A lot of times with flimsy blades, I like to put some kind of metal spine down them. So I will tend to take whatever I can to do that just to strengthen them up a little bit. But that's just something you guys can keep in mind too. This is a prop, like a toy. When you stab, there's nothing to lock the blade in place. I've already done a video explaining how to strengthen that, and I'm going to mention that again in this one. So the most important part about this whole process is being able to have a sleeve for your blade. That's the most difficult part of the entire process. And then when you understand how the hidden blade mechanism works, after that, it's very simple to make a device. We're going to fast forward this a little bit. He's just doing the rubber band mechanism to get the blade to shoot forward. But the important part is this 90-degree catch. See how he's drilling this hole for this 90-degree catch, and then he's going to run a shish kebab stick through that. Usually it's not all that strong. I really like the Dremel that he's using. I'm thinking he's using a diamond bit. The wood tends to split when you're going through and doing stuff like this, so I like to reinforce it with some super glue and then some kind of powder. A lot of people like to use sawdust to strengthen that up. And then you can see him running his shish kebab stick for that. And that this is a really good little locking peg. This is how I made mine. And I tried to make mine so it could be lethal for self-defense. But we're just using rubber band and toothpicks to make a defensive tool. J-Laser Video does a similar one. It's missing a 90-degree catch. This 90-degree catch is meant to send the blade forward. All we need to do, I'm going to show it in just a second, after he makes his peg, all we need to do is drill another hole in the blade to catch the bottom of the blade. He has a hole in the top of the blade to send the blade shooting forward with the rubber band system. If you put a hole in the bottom of the blade, you can push that peg down to catch the blade to lock it in place so you can use it for stabbing stuff as a self-defense tool. So it is essential to have a locking mechanism, and it is essential to size that locking mechanism up. You want to keep it right around the first try, because when you go at this with scissors and wire cutters, the wood tends to split. So it's a big problem that I have doing it. And another thing that you can do is go over this with a file to score it before you cut it. That way you don't get any splitting, because splitting with popsicle sticks is a very common thing, and it can be a pain in the butt to have to go through that. Fast forward this just a little bit. And you can see he's got the hole in the top of the blade. And then when he releases, that'll shoot forward. He's getting ready to put his mechanism on. I want to rewind this just a little bit and show you guys the blade with the hole in it. There we go. Right there. Right here. So this is essential. This catches the blade with the 90-degree locking mechanism. He's going to go over some rubber bands. He's going to put a shish kebab stick right across here to bridge. That's going to give him some tension to lift that stick up to shoot this blade forward. All you have to do is port another hole in the bottom of the blade. And then that little shish kebab stick locking mechanism will lock the blade. It won't be like a little slip joint prop tool. You'll have a defensive tool. Wood, as is a lethal tool. Vampire stake, wood can easily penetrate into people or animals. You can look at tribes like New Zealand or even over in Hawaii and see how lethal wood is when it comes to penetrating things. One of my favorite improvised self-defense weapons is the vampire stake. So I definitely recommend that to people as a really good idea for targeting soft areas like the eye, the airway, the carotid artery, the jugular, maybe even getting into the subclavian arteries of the kidney area, breaking through into the ribs, getting into the heart. That could be a hard process to get through bone and stuff, and getting into the brainstem. You probably want something that's more metallic. The system's absolutely beautiful. I love how simple it is. Okay, let's put this back to normal speed. And we're going to fast forward it just a little bit. I really like this little brace too. That's the other pain in the butt when you're doing a hidden blade system. This is how I did my little 90-degree locking mechanism too. My rubber band system wasn't as clean as theirs was because I was just doing it on the fly. But when you pinch that, the blade shoots forward. You just got to get the blade to catch. And this is essentially an OTF mechanism, which is actually really, really good if you guys like that system using rubber bands. And they have 3D printed OTF systems that run on rubber bands with slightly thicker blades if you guys get on Colts and you're able to print one off. Not everybody has a 3D printer. I do. I barely use it because it costs too much to run, and the plastic's it smells really bad and the plastic's expensive. So I don't get to play around with it as much as I'd like to. Hopefully when the economy clears up, then I'll be able to do that. So I really like the simplicity of using cardboard as a wrist brace gauntlet. It's really, really smart. And it might seem like it's like some kind of homeless thing, or like some bum thing. Believe it or not, if you're following people like ℜ𝔬𝔪𝔞𝔫'𝔰, he has a thing called Hobo Tactical that he put together, where you're basically getting like slapjacks and crazy things that I don't know. It's just it's like ghetto tools You know what I'm saying? So using cardboard as a defensive makeshift tool, because you would also think like prison concept theory, it's a good idea. It's a strong material. It's hard to get a hold of leather. I know a lot of people like to use the drawer side mechanism and then they get like Gorilla Glue or they get rivets. Not everybody has a rivet gun and then you're running belts. So I really like this whole bootlace cardboard thing. Maybe go over the edge of the cardboard with some super glue. I really like this design. I like how simple it is. The best part about the system is he has it where he does the wrist flick and then the blade shoots out. ℜ𝔬𝔰 came up with a very good modern version of that using a magnet to catch the blade. I've been telling you guys about how grateful I am that he came up with that. There's a bunch of different artists working on OTF systems that are 3D printed. I still think ℜ𝔬𝔰 is the best probably for making hidden blade systems, probably because of his counterblade that allows you to rotate it at a 90 degree, and I think that could be modified with your EDC weapon system if you were able to attach it. I still think ℜ𝔬𝔰 is the best out of ℜ𝔬𝔰 and IMD Pain and Raw Ice and all the different people doing it. I still think ℜ𝔬𝔰 is the most underrated and the best content creator for the Hidden Blade system. I'm sorry, he's my Spanish Rambo, dude, and he's kicking butt on that. So I'm very, very happy that he put those systems together and he made it so you're able to see them. I'm sure at one point there were tutorials. This almost has me wanting to butcher an old shoe just so you could use the pad and like glue the system to a shoe. And you see what I'm saying? Like you got your old sneaker and you're just lacing it up. But that might be something to keep in mind later on. I really like the system. It gives a little wrist flick. The blade shoots out. I'm going to fast forward so you guys can see that a little bit. Let's back this up. Obviously, I got to stop the video a bunch and do commentary or they get you for copyright. They'll probably get me for copyright anyway. And all he does is a little wrist flick. Blade shoots out right there. So I'll back that up. We're going to slow this down. Turn the volume back down. Being able to do that quick little wrist flick gets rid of any printing with strings and rings. So I really like this system because it's cheap. It's easy to do. You need very minimal tools. Always remember, you guys, low tech is high tech. The less materials that you have, the less technology it takes. Not everybody has a 3D printer. This is something that you can do in the field. It's a field expedient push dagger self-defense tool. So pretty crazy about that. I don't like how tight the system is around his hand though, but I do like that all he has to do is push forward real hard and then the blade shoots out. Hopefully it gives you enough dexterity to be able to climb up and stuff. I know the one that I made with the OTF that I use like a Kydex sheath to set the OTF off, or my EDC on my pants to set that off. The one that I was using, because you can open and close it with something under your clothes or in your pocket, off a wrist brace, just touching that button. Like a shoe, like an OTF shoe knife. Same thing, it catches the button, shoots out. So I really like that he's able to pivot his wrist and hit that, but he has this little bit of overhang right here. Mine does that too. It might get in the way of being able to climb or maneuver or do anything, but let's be honest, how many of us are doing parkour right now, running around with push daggers? It's nice to know some parkour, but I know that none of you guys are training, and a lot of us are older, and I just don't have it in me to go and do it, and there isn't a whole lot of places to go and do it in my area anyway. People that I wanted to train with to do it ended up getting hurt, and one of them ended up in a car accident. The other people that I was talking to in my local area, I think they ended up on drugs or something. I don't know. But that never really took off. So anyway, right here where he's able to push down, the blade shoots forward. If he had another hole in the bottom of that blade, that locking mechanism would catch that hole, locking that blade in place. So that's my idea for taking these reverse mechanisms and turning them into a practical self-defense tool. Another thing that I might do is right here on the rubber band is go around that a couple times. Just to keep that from wanting to slide off, or you can do a retention spring. But the big takeaway from this is it's a non-permissive environment tool. That means you can go through a metal detector and not get picked up, but we can still have the lethal version if you were to go over this blade. And if you wanted to step it up even more, you can probably just cut the blade out of fiberglass and fiberglass, G10, that kind of material is really good too. If you guys are into that kind of stuff. Thanks, bye. That could be a problem where it's slipping out. You don't want to stab your hand. But I do like that you're able to swing your wrist forward just a little bit and shoot that out. That is awesome. Yep. Like I said, though, thanks, guys. And always remember, you are the last resistance to the captive state. Bye.